Yeah, I think I probably started as any sort of normal kid growing up in London, where I thought back in the day that Malibu was rum, and
Mhm.
not really knowing sort of the differences or appreciating the nuances in different spirits.
Mhm. Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the Global Glug. My name is Renato Molo and today I'm with Marcos Pilavakis. I hope
well
I
pronunciated. So yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
The creator of Rum Interest, a social media platform. He will going to tell us more about his activity. First of all, Marcos, thank you very much for your time, for being here online with me today. Um, you have Greek roots, is that correct?
Yeah, so I'm Greek Cypriot, parents born in Cyprus. I'm born in London. So I'm born and bred in London, but yeah, both my parents are from Cyprus. But I'm a bit of a nomad. I've lived all over. I've lived in France, Mexico, Venezuela, Malaysia, and then now back home for the last few years. So yeah, but yeah, I'm a man of the world apparently.
You have spent a lot of time also so in Venezuela. I read an article on the Rum Lab.
Yes,
And is it there where your passion about rum was born? Can you maybe tell us why, how, yeah, how did you end up loving rum that much?
yeah, so I think I probably started as any sort of normal kid growing up in London, where I thought back in the day that Malibu was rum, and
Mhm.
not really knowing sort of the differences or appreciating the nuances in different spirits. And then I had a wonderful opportunity to go. I studied Spanish at uni, wanted to perfect my Spanish, and I got the opportunity and I got a job offer randomly in Venezuela. I knew very little about the country, but I quick Googled seeing the beaches, thought, I could spend some time here.
Mhm.
So I went over to Venezuela, and I think I probably drank vodka back in the day, and dare I say it. But I started obviously being around a lot of people that were whiskey lovers and rum lovers, but rum sort of started hitting a sweet spot for me. So my first sort of epiphany moment that I really loved rum was I'm an Arsenal fan, so we just finished the
Okay.
semi-final in the Champions League over there. It's going back many years ago, and someone invited me around to their apartment, and they brought out a bottle of Pampero Aniversario, and
Classic rum.
it's beautiful, and it's not a bad rum to start the journey on.
Exactly, yes.
So yeah, I asked, hey, as you did back in the day, can I get this with some Coca Cola? And I swiftly got a slap around the head, and the person went, just try it first. And from the moment I sipped it, um, I knew that rum was my drink, and I think from that point on, I may have gone through a fair few bottles over my year in Venezuela. And before I knew it, I started. I had a collection before I knew I had a collection of rum. And I guess now, yeah, I've got a nice rum room and some sort of. I think I've got about 700-800 bottles of rum
Okay.
in the house. So yeah, the obsession and love for rum has grown.
So after your stay in Venezuela, you came back to London and you decided straight away to start your website. Can you maybe explain us what you're exactly doing?
So I wish it was so romantic and so smooth, but it was no. I came back and I think I started going to some rum festivals and trying new rums, but I didn't really have I liked my Spanish style rums back in the day, and then it was actually going when I was moving house. I realised actually I built up quite a collection. Didn't quite know the value. I ended up stupidly opening up a Foursquare 98 bottle, which carries quite a bit of value now. And
Yeah.
I moved there. I went, oh, what's this bottle? I'll try some whilst I'm moving. And yeah, wish I'd kept that one closed. But no, I said I started having a collection. And then I was on holiday in Greece once with some friends, and my friend was like, "Get on Instagram, get on Instagram." I was like, "Look, I'm not a social media person. Just like no."
Hmm.
We went, "No, like get on. Like you like rum, go and do something with the rum." So So Rum Interest was born 7, 8 years ago now, and it started very simple. I think my first post was on a Diplomatico bottle, and just started writing about rum. Before I knew it, companies started reaching out, asking if they could collaborate. I started attending more festivals, and it's just grown from there. So, said 7, 8 years in now. I've had the pleasure over the last year of working at the London Rum Festival. I'm representing a brand called Colours of Rum. I was in Poland representing a Haitian claran called Scent Benevolence, which is a great rum that does a lot of community work. Was over in Berlin doing the same as well. So it's grown, and then end of last year I started a rum tasting business called Real Rum Experience.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I think since COVID the market has gone to, actually I was at a talk with Global Rum Ambassador in Burrell the other day, and he said there's 3 categories of rum people. There's your 1%ers, which are what we classify as the rum nerds. I can tell you the pant size of the master blenders. You've got the 9%, which are your influencers, which are, you can go to a bar, you know what you're looking for, you ask for a specific drink made a certain way, and you know what rum you want to call out and flavours you want to get. And then you've got the other 90% of the market that fall into, they like rum, but they still don't understand enough about it, and maybe some of them on their journey. And over the years, people will get promoted through the ranks from the 90 into the 9 into the 1. And we wanted to basically form this, myself and my partner, wanted to form this experience to bridge this gap between what I say the novice and the nerd. I think rum is in such an interesting place at the moment where it's there's a lot of different rums coming out. There's different, I guess, rums being standardized in certain countries, and rum is blowing up in a good way. But also some people can often see it in a messy way, which, funnily enough, I don't think it really is. But it's that ignorance and that gap. So we wanted to, my rum journey on how I started off on say a Malibu, and I'm sure other people are like Captain Morgan's and others, and then how I've progressed now to appreciate Clarans, certain Jamaican rums. Your palate doesn't get there overnight. Sometimes it can take several years to actually fine tune. And so we wanted to start this experience to help bridge people and open up people to the diversity of rum. But also we wanted to put this experience side to it as well. On not just, we didn't want people to have it just as a memory, like they had a good time, they buy a bottle, it sits on the shelf and they think they can only drink it neat. So how can they use it, whether it's a pairing, whether it's in a cocktail, how to make a classic. So with all our events, we try and bring an experience to it so that we're not only just talking to them about the liquid, but actually educating them on how to taste it and what to do with it as well. So a long-winded answer. It's been a few years, but yeah, I've just been very, very lucky now to have to be connected with some inspiring people within the community, and I'm hoping that I can just do the same and inspire some others in the same way.
Yeah, it's amazing when I see your Instagram profile and I see the people you see. I saw you recently, you were at Campari. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, Campari House with Ian Burrell. I think 2 days ago. Just come back from St. Lucia as well, visiting St. Lucia distillers, and then Colombia coming up in 2-3 weeks time.
Exactly. Yeah, we will meet in Colombia in Medellin. So can we say that your activity with Rum Interest is your activity, 100% activity, or it's just kind of, I can say, like an hobby?
It's become more than a hobby now. I'd say probably a few years back, 2-3 years back, it was more of a, it's always been a passion, and I think I got pleasure of visiting different countries, visiting distilleries, and then sort of getting to know the depths of rum and being able to help others on the journey. I'd say over the last couple of years it's certainly ramped up. So I do have a day job, which makes life difficult. So I'm also do with the diversity, but I'm a program manager within a multinational. that looks after making sure systems we put in place recognize people from minimalized groups and spread diversity within the workplace. But what I always say is I've always been involved with people in the people business, and I think this is what rum's about. Rum's a fun category, it's a beautiful spirit, but it brings people together. And look, I'm not in the same depth as I am with other spirits than I am to rum, but there's something about the rum family. The fact that I think 7 years ago I went to Colombia and met one of my followers and end up still speaking with them, friends with them now, and organising events.
Yeah.
When I was in Malaysia, again, owners of a great bar called Jungle Bird over in Kuala Lumpur. To this day, I probably speak to them every other day. And when they come and visit and we go out. So I think there's something about the community base and the fact that you can get so close to producers, which I think is incredible. Whether they're master blenders, master distillers, whether they're ambassadors, they're very approachable people, and it's not just them wanting to partner and get their name out. These actually, like, again, it's like yesterday I was looking at the Jamaican GI and messaged one of my contacts over in Jamaica in Worthy Park, and we had a conversation. We've got Mitch in Black Tot, you got Dean that does a speciality with a lot of brands like Hamden and the Claran. So these people are so approachable that I just think if you're really passionate and love rum, there's a world of information that is so accessible at the moment with people that want to share. It's just a shame to let that slip by.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I mean, rum is also a category with a lot of people, majority of people think rum is not really the best product. It's always whiskey, the best one. So I think there's also the will from the producer side to show and to be open to show what rum really is and what really can really bring to the people, to the audience.
Yeah, sorry.
What really rum is, basically, because sometimes everyone started, like me, I started with Diplomatico. I remember I was in Switzerland, I'm from Switzerland, and the first rum I was drinking was Diplomatico, and of course it's amazing, but it's also really sweet. Yep. And when you get out and you realize that rum is not just sweet or not just for cocktail, it's another world. But as you said, the majority of people think that rum is maybe sometimes like an underdog. Once you understand it, you can discover way more than what you're drinking.
Yeah, as I even reading last night in preparation for the event I'm doing in a couple of weeks' time, it's I said people see rum as really unstructured, and actually there's a lot of structure in rum. I think last night I was reading there's 4 GIs, geographical indicators. You got the Jamaican one, which is just passed now. You've got countries like Martinique, Australia, putting something through now as well.
St. Lucia's as well, I heard. St. Lucia.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, let's say they're all setting standards now, like Venezuela. Even if you look at a country like Venezuela, okay, you've got the 2 years minimum, you've got what you can add in, what you can't add in, where the bottling has to happen. But I think where it's maybe confusing for people, where they think it's unstructured, is that it's not one rule across the whole board. Each of these countries where they've got their GIs, they're doing something specific to their country to protect what's theirs. So Jamaica won't have any ruling on aging, but then you've got maybe Martinique where there is something around aging. It said you've got size of your casks. You've got Venezuela, you're allowed to put additives in it. In countries like Martinique or Jamaica, you're not allowed to put any additives in it. So it's all these things, and what you're saying about the sweet, there's this conception that, rum's sweet. And people think, but it comes from sugarcane. And it's like, well, yes, but you've got brandy comes from fruit. So if you're not adding sugar into or other sugar substances in there, then you look at there is a sugar, the sugarcane product at the beginning of all rums, but we're not adding, like there are some brands that do, and there's more transparency around that. But I think to that point, it's always important to say to people, if you like a sweeter rum, like a Diplomatico, or I'm not going to sort of name a whole load of them, but if you like that sort of Spanish style sweeter rum, that's fine as long as you know what you're having. It's just like if someone was to add something to your food or an ingredient, you want to know what those ingredients are, and it's the same way. And it's not to tell people you're right or wrong, and I think it's wrong when people go, you shouldn't like this, they're doing this. As long as they know what's being done, it's okay for them to like it, because everyone's palate's different. We don't go to a restaurant and order the same food like everyone, or we don't order the same drink, or we don't like our drink served the same way, so we've got to respect the palates. But I think helping those people along the way, just like yourself, as you said, you like Diplomatico, I like Diplomatico, I still do like Diplomatico. But I've also been privileged enough to go and have other rums and taste the other side of the spectrum, and I can make up my mind on what rum I want on what occasion. And I think that's really the key, giving people the knowledge and the tools to be able to make informed decisions rather than being misled with false marketing.
Yeah, that's the problem sometimes, of course, marketing. We know a lot of brands. I also do rum tasting here in Cartagena with chocolate. And people sometimes ask me, the higher the number on the label, the best the rum is, the better. Not always. So
the Solera system is a lovely,
Which,
deceiving one, but yeah.
Exactly, it's a bit deceiving sometimes. But yeah, anyway, this is a hard work for people like you. And how do you organize your events? How does it work exactly?
So a lot. I mean, look, I've been very thankful. Where in the UK, I think we were one of the, I was along with actually a close friend of mine. We were the first people to actually start sort of independently, sort of writing about rum from a social media point of view. There are other really respected figures in the industry that go into the highly technical sort of areas of rum, but this was like just writing out rum for the sake of trying rum and sort of bridging people. So there was a couple of us that started. So thankfully we've been around enough where people sort of recognise our page if they like rum. No Hollywood star by any means, but in the rum sector, people know a few of us, and we've got a close rum circle. So a lot of people are ones that actually want that community base and want to try the variety. And also, rums can be quite expensive now. And some rums like Foursquare, for example, they're out, and then before you know it, they're gone. And there's some great punchier rums which are coming out, like the funky flavours of Hamden from Jamaica, where people don't quite want to invest in that bottle yet because they haven't had the opportunity to try. We try and keep intimate, so around 20 people. It's a monthly event. We do it in a rum bar called Merchant House in London. It's a great little rum bar. Through social media and through word of mouth, we've got a mix of what we say are rum family, so people that are passionate about rum and just enjoy that journey and want to discover. And then through word of mouth, new people are coming in, and what they're finding is we try to create a very relaxed atmosphere. We're not there to give a in-depth history lesson. We're not there to get into huge technicalities. Do we go through distillation process and fermentation? Absolutely. Do we talk about the history of rum? Yes, we touch, because I don't think that should ever be overlooked, because it's a really, really important phase. But we also make it spirit forward and try and get people into it from a different angle.
And also the history of rum. I read a lot of books about the history. It's amazing. Of course, it started everything with the enslaved people, etc. But what's behind it, the spirit, how it was born, and how they discovered the British Navy. There's a lot of passionate things to talk about. So rum is a lot of history, and it's also about the American independence. We have a lot of Americans here, and they like to hear that. They don't know that, but rum was, in the States, for example, was the main drink before whiskey.
And as dark as that history is, and it should never be overlooked, like it's like this is that's how rum was born. It's as I said, and rum wasn't seen as a drink for the elite, and look where we are now. So I think it's important that people know the movement. even sort of the starts of sugarcane. I think I was reading that in Ian's new book that like the early records of sugarcane, it's probably discovered that sugarcane was there a lot more before, because there was an insect that that used to only feed on sugarcane or sugarcane juice, and that insect could only be eaten by another insect. So they've got a record of this insect existing and only being able to eat sugarcane. So we know that sugarcane goes by, and then it became a company. And then there's a whole movement between Europe, between South America and Africa as well. And then now it's just developed, but there's a lot of history in the Caribbean. And actually, I guess some of the wealth that you see in Europe is attributed to what was going on in the Caribbean as well back in the day. But as I said, it's important to remind people. I'm not a history expert, but I respect the history of the spirit. As I said, it should never be forgotten. And now it's reminding people of that, but also hopefully putting a modern spin on rum, to not make people think it's just either something they had a terrible hangover on when they're young, or it's a drink that their grandpa used to have, and so they don't associate it as something sort of modernized and cool.
That's happens a lot in our tastings. When we ask about rum, they have bad memories about the early hangovers when they were younger.
And I guess additives will do that to you to a degree, or quantity as well. But as I said, actually most rums don't add anything in there. It's like, and this is it. There's a bad reputation from a few. But as I said, you always hear complaints over good news, and it's the same with the rum world. And the whole point is to start breaking down those misconceptions that there exist, but also just getting people to be adventurous and go, hey, there are some well-marketed rums that charge you £100 plus. That's being generous. Or there's some rums that are charging you £40-50, like $60, and they are very good quality rums, no additives, and can give any whiskey, bourbon, cognac a run for their money.
How do you explain to a customer which likes, for example, the sweetest rums, how can you take him to the dry side? What is your argument?
So I think the first rule we always have in my experiences that we do is that we don't judge people.
Of course.
And I think, as I said it before, I think it's wrong that we do, because we all started, and unless you've been very lucky to start on some of the top rums, we all started somewhere. So it's more around, rum's a lot about evoking memory and flavours. So finding out why they like the rum. Is it because they like the sweeter side? Is it because they like the fruitier side, or a grassier note or something? So it's beginning to connect with them on what it is about the rum that they like. Maybe it's because of a holiday that they've been on and they've just got a good association, or a cocktail that they like it in. And then from there, thinking about what bridge rums there are. Now, you're not going to go from someone from a Diplomatico and put them on a Hamden, like if they haven't done that journey before, because it will just blow them away. You're also not going to give them cask strength, because again the palate's not prepared. So there are some great, what I call bridge rums, and happy to name in, I think, something like a Dorley's XO from Barbados. I think it's a fantastically versatile rum. It's a sipper, can be used in cocktails, but it's just got those nice, naturally sweet. And people, again, have got this conception when you think sweet, it means sugar. It's like, no, these are naturally sweet, no additives. You've got something like a Chairman's Reserve, which again, very approachable. Yes, you've got those fruitier notes, but you've got some grassier notes in there as well, so a few more vegetal. So again, these are rums that are very, very approachable and can help see people over. And then if you're looking even South America, you've got ones like Aniversario, you've got Santa Teresa, which I'm a huge fan of as well. So there are some decent rums that can help not take it to the other extreme, but help, as I said, bridge that gap over And then once you've got people used to that, then you can start getting a bit more fun and experimenting with different ones. And I think the other last bit, which I say to people when they come to the experiences and they've got 5-6 rums in front of them, I always say, you don't have to like every single rum you're going to try today. It's like, again, I go to a restaurant, if you order 5 wines, you're not going to like every one of the wines in the same way. If you order 5 different, if you go to a restaurant and you find 5 meals on the main meal section that you like, I mean, I think that's very lucky. Normally 1 or 2 stand out. So it's the same thing when you go to these tastings. If you come out liking 1 and I've opened your mind about liking 1, I've done my job. If you like anything above that, then fantastic. And then it's getting people to associate it with styles. Again, like if you look at whiskey, or like you'll get them on a menu separated into, like, you've got your Scottish, you've got your Irish, or you've got your Islay section. So you've got your different categories. Again, we want to start getting people thinking about rum in the same way. It's, for me, we're doing rum a disservice when we go into a bar and they're all just in one list. You've got Jamaica next to Guatemala, next to Haiti, next to Venezuela, and it's all mixed up. These are styles and they've all got individual characteristics. So it's like, even going like, Caribbean rum. If I give you a rum from Jamaica and I give you a rum from Barbados, Jamaica for me will evoke a feeling of funk, of a high ester. So you've already got a feeling of what you're going to get when you're going to it. Barbados, I expect something more subtle, a bit more smoother, naturally fruity, naturally sweet. Whereas if we put them together, people can't really make that distinguishment. And so I think that's the next step in trying to separate these categories out, so that in the same way, again, like wine, when you see Malbec, when you see a Pinot Noir, when you see a Pinot Grigio, you associate a grape with a flavour. We should be doing that in the same way with rums.
Yeah, it's difficult. Again, rum is made everywhere in the world, kind of now, and different styles, different flavors. I sometimes also, just to show our customers, I have some Hamden rums, and you open this bottle and people are like, they smell it and like, wow, this is incredibly strong. And my personal opinion, I'm not really fan of high ester rums, and I can understand someone who doesn't like it compared to a Dorlis, for example, a Mount Gay or another Foursquare rum. They are really completely different. I wanted just to ask you, the formats you offer your tasting are always based on a category or, for example, a topic. How does it work?
So we've done different. So it can be brand led, it can be country led, or it can be regional variants led. So we've done, this year we've done Black Tot with a Black Tot blending session. So that was around sort of the Navy rum side, and that's got in like their master distillers blend. They've got a variety of countries and history in that. We've done Hamden, but also we had Plantaray or Plantation in, where we did a blind tasting. So we had I think Peru, Belize, Jamaica, Barbados, and so people can sort of, again, it takes away from their preconceptions of what rum they're expecting to see or taste, and then they're depending completely on their sensory side of things. So I think it depends on, we tailor it to the brand. Some exciting stuff coming up where British rum is making a surge. So we're going to be doing a British rum event. But yeah, I think it depends. I'm just trying to think now. St. Lucia, yeah, we did a pairing with chocolate. So it depends on what we think, how we think we can get the crowd working with the rum. We've done Haitian, again, which is quite high ABV. We've done Worthy Park, and so we made Mai Tais with them. So we want to showcase how tweak and showcase depending on the audience.
And you do it regularly, like
every
once
month.
a month?
Yeah. So once a month. In fact, we just did a really interesting one, which was agave versus rum. And everyone was like, and this is like, we like to test things. And they're like,
interesting. It's an
everyone was
interesting
like,
approach.
how can you mix those two? How can you? I was like, well, this is it. You've got mezcal, raicilla, and you've got tequila. And then we had a Hamden. I think we had a HLCF. We had a Claran in there, and we had a Rivers from Granada. And all bar one was a clear spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But people are only used to having like the likes of a Diplomatico or a Mount Gay or like some of your more readily available supermarket store purchased rums. They've got a fear of clear rums or clear spirits, and like the concept that when we tell people, you know what, a clear spirit probably didn't start off clear, like or like you get some aged which are clear. And it's just like, it's, I think, Planas, if we look at Diplomatico, it's a wonderful rum. It's a higher ABV. It's a clear rum. That would have had some colour in it. I think we got some of the earlier Dorley's ones, which are aged as well. So it's, everyone just has got this, the amount of people that come to me and go, oh, I don't want to try the clear one. I want to try the most aged one. Actually, like some of the younger ones have got the most flavour to it. Like sometimes the older rums have had too much interaction with the cask, and they're a bit too dry. So it's it's something I love challenging people on, and I think next year we're going to do a session, and we're not going to tell people when, but we're not going to give traditional tasting glasses. So all the glasses will be covered, so you can't see what colour the liquid is.
Amazing.
And we're going to put a mix of clear and dark, and then test people's perspectives to understand what they think and whether they think it's clear or dark.
I'm a huge fan of blind tasting because it's the most honest opinion you could give to a spirit. And the dark ones are even better, so you don't see if it's aged or not aged. And
you can play around with colour. Like people add like caramel colouring. It's like, it's depending on the oak, depending how long it's been in there. It's like, so colour's very, very deceiving. But as I said, anything where we can do to just have that moment where people go, I didn't realise that. That's a sweet spot that I really like.
I saw also online you traveled a lot. You visit a lot of distilleries. Recently in St. Lucia. I know it's a difficult question, but I like to ask difficult questions. Which one is your favorite distillery, if I can ask?
What's my favourite distillery? I think for it's going to get me to quality of tour and time spent with for sure St. Lucia Distillers. I think they spent about 4 hours with me. I was shown around by the master distiller first, and then I had to sit down with the master blender for a tasting. I got to see everything from the fermentation tanks to the distillation process to going into the labs. It was like nothing was off limit, and I think to gain that insight and be taken around with the people behind the unspoken heroes behind the liquid stood out. In terms of hairs standing up on the back of my neck, visits and Mount Gay. Just amazing. Walking in to that room and seeing the pot stills there for the first time was I felt like a little kid in a candy shop. It was incredible. So I'd say, not to say the others weren't good. I've had some very, very good ones, and they've all been unique. But in terms of incredible wow, Mount Gay in terms of quality and an in-depth show around St. Lucia. And
do you think that thanks to thanks to your activity, your website, your Instagram, do you think that it helped you also to get more into the rum? You went to St. Lucia. Do you think that this helped you also to get to the master blender, to the master distiller? It opens you the door,
well, like without doubt. I mean, look, you can do it without and connections and contacts, but I think being one of the earlier ones and the fact and frequenting, so it's not just the account. The account now I kind of use as my own personal diary of events, but the frequency of going, whenever there's a tasting, I try to be there.
Yeah.
You try to ask questions, you spend time with people. So for sure, I've got too many people to thank in the sector that have opened up the door and given me an opportunity. And even now, like, that to have the opportunity to work on stands in rum festivals, interact with different cultures.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It's phenomenal, and I often say with what I'm doing with the rum tasting, I've got the best classroom, I think, in the rum world, because I get the privilege of every single month getting an ambassador, a master blender, master distiller, a producer, and I get to watch all their different, being non-affiliated as well. I get to see how all these practices are done, how everything's presented, and I can take hopefully the best of their knowledge and their methods and put that in hopefully what you'll see in 2-3 weeks time in Colombia when we do our event over there.
I can't wait.
Thank you.
And do you think that rum maybe you told me you have a job. Do you think that your activity one day maybe your 100% activity and you could leave
leave the day job? Depends who's listening.
Dangerous question.
I think it's got to be the right opportunity. I think what I've always said is, people have said, would you ever bring out your own rum? My answer has always been no. I love being non-affiliated. I think being non-affiliated lets people approach you in a very different way. I think it gives me opportunities to get into the sector and get speaking with people that I wouldn't do in the same way and trust level. So the last year, activities has grown. I love it. My passion's growing, and I think I'm getting first year for the sector as I go along. Will it all take over? I don't know. I said I love what I'm doing, and I love the experiences I'm getting and being able to share with people. It's too early to tell. I like to grow slow and steady and make sure I'm doing it properly.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Again, you said you are completely independent. The same I always say here. I never got approached by any brand here in Cartagena in Colombia, but if someone would approach, I wouldn't accept, because once you do that, I mean, it's amazing if you would like, of course, but once you do that, you lose your freedom, kind of, and you are not really open to speak your mind. So I like this approach of being independent, and it's also what consumers like. I mean, consumers like me, I would like to have someone who is really independent and gives me the right point of view, not conditioned by money, of course, or because
this is it.
It's committed to someone.
And I like to think people can see myself and my partner who I run it with, in that we've been through the journey ourselves. We're open-minded, we're inclusive, and the fact that now I get to come over and represent incredible brands that put their trust in me with their product to be able to tell their story, and the fact that I can go to different festivals and meet different cultures and tell you the differences between audiences from living in Venezuela to now Colombia to Germany to Poland to London to different parts of UK. I think putting all these experiences and being able to sort of reflect that, I think it's as I said, I feel very privileged that I've got these relationships and that I'm able to share with other people.
It's amazing. And I have one last question to wrap it up. If you could give an advice to someone who is starting tasting rum today, what would your advice be?
What would my advice be to someone starting rum today? Get out there and try as many rums as you can. Don't be put off by rums. You're going to hit some bad notes occasionally, and I think that's where a lot of people have gone wrong. So I'd say don't judge rum by your past experiences. Get out there, try, speak to people, learn about the product, learn what's in there, and then, but yes, sampling, I always say sampling is key. When people come to these events, I go, look, You're going to try rums that you're not going to see in your bars. You're not going to see them in the supermarkets. You may not even go out and buy them. But remember the country they're from. Remember the style. I want you to come to our events and go, we went to a Jamaica rum tasting, or we went to a St. Lucia rum tasting. And yeah, I like those rums. So when you go to a bar, instead of just going, oh, can I get an old fashioned, or can I just get a straight up rum? You can go, do you have any rums from St. Lucia? And you've already given who you're working with, or the barman that you're going to be working with, an idea of what flavours you like. So if they don't, you can go, what can you recommend me? And even that conversation is a fantastic way to start your journey. And if you're really passionate, get some books. Like, there's no, you don't need to get into, like, I am a rum nerd. Like, I love reading about the fermentation. I get excited about reading about yeast and different distillation processes. And I still try and wrap my head, and however many distilleries I visited, it still, like, blows my mind. And I still think whenever I've understood it, something comes up and I don't. But there are more simpler books on just how to approach things. And yeah, as I said, the more you can test your palate, blind tastings are a great way. So another little, I'd say, clever tip I do is, if you've got several rums at home, do a blind tasting, and then your number one rum that you've got from that tasting, put that number one rum next time in the next time you do a blind tasting, and see where it turns up in the ranking. And you may find surprised at how your palate's developing, and your Diplo that was number one may end up slowly at number two or number three as you start discovering other stuff. So yeah, long advice because I could talk about it all day, but the key is experiment and ask questions.
Exactly, yes. There's a lot of information outside on the web. There are a couple of websites as well which are amazing. For example, Matt Pitrick, which is encyclopedia, this guy. So I mean,
I had the pleasure of going out for dinner with him and a couple of other people. And these are like the wow moments when you're in a taxi going to dinner with these people in the industry. The other one, with Daniele from you got Daniele Bondi that does with hangs around with Luca.
Yeah, Velia, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So and again, we went for drinks, and then we tried some I think it was like 40s Bacardi, like a Hemingway daiquiri with old school Bacardi, and you're having those moments going, wow, like there's just like, for me, they're rum royalty. They're people that I've looked up to and got so much knowledge of, and to be able to sit with them and ask questions and absorb, it still gets me excited. So whilst the excitement is still there, I'm going to keep going and hopefully get other people into it. So, but yeah, if people are in Colombia, they're listening, they should come along in a couple of weeks, because we've got a great event coming on. As I said, these, as far as I know, as far as being told by the brands, I'm bringing 7-8 rums with me that have never been tasted before. I can't guarantee that someone hasn't been to America and picked one up, but some of them are brand new releases. So there's never been a official rum tasting with these brands in Latin America.
Yeah. It's not really the market here, Colombia. It's always difficult for me to get the rums I like. I have to travel or friends coming over, but here the market is basically restricted for rum.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to taste Black Thought rums. To be honest, I tasted just once Black Thought, and I'm so curious to see what you're going to tell us, to show us, and also to teach us.
No, I'm looking forward. And Black Thought, if you're interested in Black Thought, we've got their brand new release, which just came out in, I think, October, called the Historic Solera.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a first for the continent that we bring over, and we've got the Master Blenders Reserve 2024 as well. So we've got some fantastic liquids that we're going to be trying and talking through.
Excited.
So I'm super excited to be able to share with all of you.
Thank you very much, Marcos, for your time, and see you on a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Only a couple of weeks away. But no, very excited. Thanks for hosting me today.
Thank you for your time.
It's been great speaking with you. And yeah, I look forward to picking up our conversations in a couple of weeks in Medellin.
Thank you very much, Marcus.
Fantastic. Take care.